love has to be the center. It has to connect us, reconnect us, and look at it like this. You are human, I am human. How can I help you?
Hello, welcome back to another great episode of Love Speaks. I am your host, Francois, along with
Lakeisha,
you got on my favorite color today. You know that?
you have on my favorite color as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know you had a favorite color.
I love every color in the spectrum. So you have on my favorite color.
I hear you. My favorite color is black and white. Hey, she like colors, so any color it is. So thank you. I can never go wrong with you, huh?
You can't go wrong.
That's what I'm talking about. Never go wrong. But the funny thing about never going wrong, we live in a day and hour where there's some people who actually feel like they're never wrong. That is one of the most saddest places to ever be, is to be involved and have to work with someone who is never wrong. Well, the reality is we are all human. Where every last one of us are human, and we all have a margin of error. This is Love Speaks, where love speaks what love is, whether love is spiritually, currently, or socially. And here today's topic, we're going to deal with a little bit of current and a little bit of social. As we peruse the government of the wonderful United States of America, which is the country that I have been born in and where I live. Only my father was an immigrant who had a legal status in America, but my mother and my grandparents were all born in America. It's funny that I have to say stuff like that because the climate of our country today almost wants to make it appear that only a certain set of people were born here. So it is amazing that in this day and hour, and the climate of our country, that we have to defend ourselves. I'm reminded when Barack Obama was elected as president and what he had to go through just to prove his U.S. citizenship. It's sad when that's the climate in our country. And I think that sometimes we have to stop and take a retrospective look and see things as they are. See them as they are. We experiencing the shutdown on both ends of the party seems like it is very unnecessary. There are a few things that were brought out that for me was, I could not agree with. And I could not agree with, for one thing, when it comes down to receiving government benefits. Everybody who receives government benefits are not in the same boat.
Correct.
They are not in the same boat. So even though in our household, we both work extremely hard, but God has blessed us with the season in our life that we're in. I go out to work, but you work from home. So our children are still safe. They have safe environment. Growing up, after my mom and dad were no longer together, my mom was the caregiver. She was the caregiver. And I can remember her having many jobs with us growing up, but her main job that she did not play about was being available to her children. From time to time, she took a job at schools so that she can constantly be available to her children. And so now when we look at during the government shutdown, we're afraid to come to agreement because we don't want to provide aid to foreigners that you label as criminals and foreigners that you label as criminals. So we're going to prevent all the aid that's given to those who might be like my mom, who was not a lazy woman sitting down at home waiting on a check. Medicaid helped us grow up.
But that's why the conversation has to be had, because I think it's a mindset for quite a few of, I want to say, the white America. And I have to say this and be honest and somewhat blunt about it, because the day that we're living in, we have to let our voices be heard, because there are so many inhumane things that are taking place right now. God has always been concerned, and we should always be concerned equally about humanity, the humans, people, period. And so, as you mentioned, this should not be where there is a shutdown, that funding is not released to programs that are needed. And mainly the program for, let's just say, benefits, governmental assistance for, rather than SNAP benefits, because as you mentioned, we both work, and everyone that is home who are receiving SNAP benefits or any kind of governmental assistance, I said don't want to be there. I think there is a mindset that everyone, they put everybody and categorize and put everybody in the same box. And you cannot do that, because I've always worked since I was 14 years old. Just to paint the portrait, because when I was 14, I got my first summer job. And after that, I've worked ever since I was 14. And at some points in life, held down 2 jobs, at one time 3 jobs, just to make sure I can provide for myself. And of course, this was before children and marriage. And after getting married and having a child while working, I was terminated from my job because our child, who was a micro preemie, we had to care for him, who was in the NICU, now forced out of employment, and now having to make the decision. Do I put my child, who's a micro preemie, 1 pound, 12 ounces, who was in the NICU for 87 days, do I go back to work and abandon, in which I tried, but being forced to now be able to stay home and take care of our child, because there's therapies and doctor's appointments that you have to go to. And so now we had to, for a period, rely on the governmental assistance. We had to get WIC to help get milk. We had to eventually get aid and SNAP benefits, because we went from 2 incomes to 1 income. But it was temporary, but yet it was needed. Because when you look at this, it's not everyone in the same category, or everyone that's home, they're lazy and they just want the government to take care of them. No, I worked. And as soon as I'm able and capable, I'm back at work. But everybody's circumstance is not the same. And I think that's what they don't identify. But I say that to say that it's because there is a greater agenda. So what it is, there's a smoke screen that want us to look over here. Absolutely. To say this is what's really going on. There's a lazy people. They don't want to work. They don't want this. But when there's really exactly
that.
Yes. But they want us to take our eyes off of the real agenda. And there's agenda that's taking place in this country that we cannot sleep on, but we have to be awakened to what is taking place and alert ourselves and be aware that we can respond and react accordingly. I don't want to say, okay, because this whole blame, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's the blue, it's the red, it's the left, it's the right. No, forget about all of that. Let's put the people that are in the middle, humans, who may not be able to feed their children.
Absolutely.
Because of benefits that are being removed or programs that are not being funded. So we have to not only be prayerful, but we have to now let our voices. And so this is why we're having this conversation today, just to bring awareness, because I've seen some dialogues on various social media platforms, and people will go, y'all need to get up and go to work, and you need to, and I'm saying to myself, it's not everyone who's sitting home who choose not to work. There may be a circumstance that's preventing them from working at this current moment, and I can bear witness with that because I was placed in that position.
Mhm.
We was placed in that position.
I can remember my mom saying, and I also remember this in our very, very, very young years, how my mom was a nurse and she did a lot of nursing. She would work double shifts and she worked extremely hard. But like I said, after the transitioning, the marital transitioning, left her having to put her children first. And I hate to say left her having to put her children first. She made the decision that my children come first. And I can remember her saying that just to apply for assistance, she had to fight extremely hard, even to the point of to sue just to get assistance. So assistance one, and I really want to deal with this whole shutdown and this left right stuff, but this is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. Not because, no, because it was a part of my upbringing, it was a part of my growing up. It helped us. My mom did not spend time buying us fancy shoes and things of that sort, but it kept a roof over our head. It kept something for us to eat. So that's why a part of this is important. Not the fact that you're trying to, and that's the main thing I keep hearing one side say is that the Democrats are trying to give aid. That is absurd. If you know who the criminals are, arrest them. I'm going to be very nice on Love Speak. If you know who they are. So that speaks to another issue for me. That speaks to another issue. If you know where the criminals are, I'm pretty sure you do, go after them.
Yes.
Don't mess up what has created a sense of stability for one family. Because that's not really the true agenda. You're not being truthful. You're not being honest. But she did what she had to do so that she can make sure that we were okay. So that's why even today that I feel I'm in a good place. We are in a good place now. But one thing I'm always sensitive about is you don't know what the future holds.
Exactly.
You can brace for it as much as possible. You can plan for it as much as possible. But sometimes your plan don't always go as you thought. Your plan doesn't go as you thought. So why cause one group of people to suffer because you want a bigger tax break?
It's a reality. It's a game that's being played, and the people are the pawns, and it's sickening and it's sad because children are suffering, and it's a game that they are now putting in between because they're saying, and I guess with me, even with the entire shutdown, there's so many things that we can have a conversation about today, but as it relates to the whole immigration and how they're treating and rounding up people, I don't agree. I just believe that we here together blended as a culture and as a people,
That's the true
and I
culture of
think
America.
exactly, and people don't know how to separate their biases concerning certain cultures that they can recognize that you are a blessing to this country. When we all work together collectively, we can all build this country as we have done in the past. This country is as it is as a result of all of us contributing. Not just one particular race of people, one group of people, all of us. And even as it retains, because in 2022, the TEP, Taxation and Economics Policies, has said that there has been paid by immigrants 96.7 billion in federal and local taxes.
So
So they've made a contribution as well to this country. They've worked, and so they
almost
want.
$100 billion
Yes.
have been paid into this country by immigrants. And you want to claim that the reason for the government shutdown is because you're trying to offer aid to immigrants.
Yes.
Tell me what don't sound mentally healthy there. Listen, another statistic. Undocumented immigrants are generally ineligible for the refundable portion of the child tax credit unless certain conditions are met. They are typically ineligible for federal welfare programs like SNAP and and supplemental security income and federal student loans and grants. They are barred from collecting regular Social Security retirement benefits based on earnings while undocumented. So, why are we blaming the Democrats for the shutdown and using the undocumented immigrants
As a
as a
scapegoat.
scapegoat?
That's the scary part for me because it's sickening and it tells you that there's a greater agenda. So they want us to focus on and create a fight amongst humanity in this nation where you have the immigrants. And I've seen this. I'm telling you, social media, we see so many things and we have to be very careful because a lot of things are AI generated and it's not
Absolutely.
real. So you have to fact check. I believe that. If you read or you hear something, do the due diligence, go read it up yourself, look into this information, and let your heart be your guide. There's no way that I can stand and see another human being. I don't care if you are from across the waters, if you're on this side of the land, I don't care if you were born here. I cannot see with my heart, the heart that God has given me, the heart that loves like God, to see any human being done unjustly and not be hurt, not be angered, not be frustrated about it. And we sit back and we sit back quietly and we want to mask this and cover it up with Christianity and all of these things and make it seem like if it's acceptable, but it is still not acceptable. You cannot treat people, and as I was referencing, saw so many social media that were not AI generated, but actual live encounters where people were going after immigrants, telling them to leave this country because they speak a different language. I have friends, I have coworkers, I have others who are not from this country who speak other languages. I wish I was bilingual. I wish I could speak Creole or I could speak Spanish or I could speak, any other language because it is an asset to your life, not a deterrence to your life. And this is where I think they're building this division amongst the people here in this nation because it aligns with their greater agenda, the agenda that wants to keep everybody else to be subservient and as a slave, and they're dominant. And so, because you're not in the 1%, then guess what? You're now looking at everybody else that if you're not, they're not relevant. But these are still human beings. All of this stuff that is taking place in this nation, I see them going back and forth and I'm glad I don't have cable television at home because we don't have it to come into our home. But whenever I do go on any social media platform, you're seeing it and you're being inundated with whatever side has that platform.
And I think the funniest thing is that most of these, uh, I'm just going to say it, and the producers have to edit it, and they have to edit it. A lot of these so called Christian people who are nationalists, after a while, they're going to have to start rejecting the Bible because not one part of the Bible is US of A. Not one part of it. Not one part mentions California or Texas or DC.
You're
So
right.
don't tell me about how you're such a strong Christian and you got all these Christian fundamentals, but yet you're not really fulfilling these things. And then what happens is, from a medical standpoint as well, that if these medical benefits are cut, we're looking at people who are living solely because they can get their medication. They can receive certain treatment. As a minister, I received a phone call not long ago from somebody who was in the hospital. And the reality is they're still alive because of the treatment that they receive. If they stop that treatment, they can be out of here in no time. So what are we saying to those people who is an American citizen, born and raised here? Parents are American, grandparents are American, all together American. But because during the government shutdown, what happens is when decisions aren't made, funds are locked. So because decisions aren't made and they aren't agreed upon, funds are locked. So not necessarily that there isn't money, but we can't spend any of the money until we
Not
come
I
into agreement.
and I don't wanna say we can't, we won't.
Exactly.
Because you can, but you just won't. And that's the sad part, again, because it's so much to unpack in a government shutdown because there's federal employees who are affected. People who have worked years in this industry, worked years in the government. And now for you to abandon and furlough some, not only furlough, but then some you have
Fire.
showing up to work and still not getting paid. Can you
Exactly.
imagine? The bills are not going to stop coming. Children are still going to need to be provided for. So this is where I say, but then you still have where you can build and I'm sorry, a $250 million ballroom. I'm sorry, I have to say it. We have to unpack it and we have to talk about it and we have to be real. Talk about it from your heart, not from your head, not where you're supporting because I'm on the right. I'm a far right as I'm a far left. It's not my position from the right or from the left. My position is from the kingdom, being aligned with the king, being aligned with God. And this is not the heart of God. It's not the heart of God because why would I don't care if the money was donated, it didn't come from the government. It didn't come from the government's budget. It was donated. Take what was donated and allocate it to the people who are in need. That's what the heart would do. But when you take from whatever was donated, it shows you where your heart is, that you can continue to build something that you're going to dance in, that you're going to celebrate, that nobody else probably going to participate but you and the one percenters that's going to enjoy. But the people who are here, who are suffering, people who are, but you still want them to show up. It is something that just is like, okay, God, are we really in this time? We really in this place? Like, what's really going on?
It should
What's really
always
going
be morals over money. Morals over money instead of money over morals. And that's what I'm seeing. Heard people say, I'm voting for XYZ because we had money when we had them. On my job, we had things we had to vote on. And they said our vote is what's going to determine when and how we receive our raise. And there were people who said, hey, just vote on it so we can get this money. And I was like, but do you know what we're losing after we vote for this? So now you have to decide while voting on this and gaining on one end, is it worth what we're going to lose? And it's the same thing that we're experiencing right now or that we've experienced. Because it's like, hey, it's going to be a good country. We're going to be good. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be fantastic. Go ahead and vote on this. Oh, people die every day. Hey, cut those medical benefits. They're gonna people die every day. And some people ain't got life insurance and all those things there. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
It's just awful.
And these are the things that we see.
Yeah. But see, that's where the protection comes in at for, millions of people who have pre-existing conditions. And I think often I had conversations with other people concerning this issue. And I think until you are in that situation, you cannot relate.
Exactly.
Your tone, your conversation changes, when you are in that situation or you have loved ones directly affected, then you really stand up and fight for the cause. But when you don't see any, or it doesn't bother you having to come down your street, it doesn't affect your household, you don't see, yeah, maybe maybe they're right, just do away with it. No, you have to really understand, like you said, what is being given up if we vote for this. Like you said, healthcare, it's so important because many people rely on the healthcare benefit, the subsidy for them to continue to pay their premiums. Now, these are people who is not getting They're not getting Medicaid, but they're paying a premium. They're getting subsidy from the Healthcare, the Affordable Care Act. Not only that, the Affordable Care Act protects. I am a benefits enrollment specialist. I have a 215 license. I can sell life insurance, health insurance, and I understand in that through underwriting, before people were not even eligible to get a medical policy if they had certain pre-existing conditions. But because of the ACA, they had to waive those pre-ex. If you have pre-existing, you can still be covered, because how can you deny me coverage?
And it has to be affordable. And on my job, I'm looking at people who are approaching 40 years of employment, afraid to retire because my medical benefits. It's better to keep working for the medical benefits than to retire. And now I have to face, how am I going to continue to care for myself? We have to make sure we vote knowledgeably. We have to vote firstly. And secondly, we have to vote knowledgeably. We allow issues, and I'm going to say it, like sexual orientation, abortion, female issues, help us to miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture. When more is at stake. And then we come back and say, this isn't right. This isn't fair, because we're refusing to look at the entire big picture. There are a lot of things that take place that I don't agree with. But when I look at the overall big picture, I have to make an educated decision, not an emotional decision, because I'm noticing that a lot with our political climate. They're stirring up emotions. I watched one newscaster was like, we the Republicans, we did this, we did that, and now the air pilots and the air traffic and this and that, and all of these are going to suffer because the Democrats did this and the Democrats did that, and they haven't done anything. We've been successful. We've been extra. We've been da-da-da-da-da. Come on, people.
Playing on the emotions. And not only and what it is based is this. It's the emotions of those who have been, um, I want to say, taught to hate. And that's where you see it demonstrated now. And so these news outlets are fueling and feeding this hate that has been embedded, and it has gone from generation to generation to generation. And so we see this, and now they know these words are triggers. So let us put these words out of, let's put this information out there. So it's misinformation. They're putting wrong information. They're spewing lies. They're, hate. And so it is now becoming a reckoning in this country, that the country is now divided. We thought we were divided in the past. This level of division is great because now it has infiltrated our churches. It has infiltrated the communities. Has infiltrated so many areas till now when you're looking, it's always just somewhat of, are we going in peace or is it going to be some hostility? So you just don't know who you're amongst today, because there was once time when you can look at somebody and say, okay, I identify with what you identify with. No, because now the people who used to walk alongside you was silent. Now they become emboldened. And this level of hate, no matter you in the grocery store, and I'm like, well, who gives you the right? Who gives you the right for you to say that they don't belong here? Who gives you the right that say they don't have the right to do this? Who says you don't have the right?
Absolutely.
But they exercise as if they have the right, and then they are out here with their political agenda and with this agenda that is spewing out of hate and not love. Love has to be the center. It has to connect us, reconnect us, and look at it like this: you are human, I am human. How can I help you? Before I bring you down, before I tear you down, what can I do to help and to make this world a better place? But when we see ourselves as inferior,
You just said something that's triggered me in a sense. How can I help you? That should be the question on every public servant mind. We put you in office so that you can ask the question, how can we help you? Not just to your friends and your buddies who got the big money and can sponsor your agenda, but how can I help you? What about the one who's never going to have your financial status? How can I help you? So, are you telling me in order to have good health, in order to eat, in order to live, it has to be a luxury? Or is it just a human right? Because if we cut these medical benefits and we cut all these things like that, surely, I don't know about anybody else, as a minister, when 2020 hit, COVID hit, and I was almost at a funeral every week, I'm not ready to go back into that. I'm not ready to go back into that. So because you're not going to offer the cancer treatment, and you're not going to offer the kidney treatment and all the other treatments there, because some of these people who have these ailments will not have a prolonged life without these benefits, but you want to blame the immigrant.
it's not the immigrant. It's just, it's not, because it's our right as humanity to have good health. It's our right to have food. It's our right to live in peace. It's our right. And so I believe that this turmoil that have kicked up in these last month with the shutdown has the agenda to alleviate programs that they've always wanted to alleviate.
Absolutely.
And so what they're going to do, and what they're doing, is using immigrants as a scapegoat, because everyone who feels like they don't need to be here, they shouldn't be here, you don't have a right here. But if it's already been checked and it's already been a fact that they cannot get these benefits, then tell me, what's the real issue?
Exactly.
What's the real problem?
What is the real issue? We can talk about this forever. We really, really, really can. But we just wanted to bring it to you, to continue to give you something to think about, to understand that when we do go out to the polls to vote, that we must think about the big picture. The big picture. Not a temporary selfish issue, but the big picture. If you don't educate yourself on the issues, they can tell you anything. We got to do our work. Don't follow the hype. Let's do the work. This is Love Speaks, where we speaking currently and socially on the day. And hopefully it'll help you spiritually as well. Thank you for tuning in. Any final words?
I just want to say that in this season, in this climate that we're in right now, do be, as you said, knowledgeable, educate yourself, and be aware. Because I firmly believe that it just depends on which outlets we're listening to, what we're allowing to feed us, what we're hearing. I believe is driving a lot of our conversation and our thoughts, that we're not allowing our heart to take control and to respond with love and with compassion. You're hearing it on repeat. You're constantly hearing these various things. Oh, and now we're joining the conversation. Why they getting food stamps anyway? Yeah, we can have that conversation about some people who may get food stamps. Yeah, you're able bodied, you can go and work, but it's not the case for everyone. So let us not join
Yes,
in on
ma'am.
these conversations and condemn and damn everyone who needs these governmental assistance. Every country gives their people assistance because it's needed. Not everyone in the 1%. Because guess what? Like I said earlier, the day came in my life and our life where we had to rely temporarily on governmental assistance. We chose not to be ashamed, chose not to be embarrassed because we knew it was temporary. But most people are there. I told them there's not a line standard. I don't want your governmental assistance that limits me. And say, even during the process when we applied, I'm like, I don't even see how people do this. They want all your information. They about wanted your blood just to give you the assistance. Do anybody want to go through that humiliating process for the little $500 that you're going through? It is because you don't have a choice. But then the world and the people now, everybody is flooding social media. Why they getting food stamps? And they need to cut it. Be careful what you say they need to cut because one day you may just need and have to rely on as well. So I just want to say that be careful for the conversations you're joining in. Don't speak from your mind, but speak from your heart. Know that everyone, don't put everybody in that same boat, that same place that everybody's there and everybody who's getting assistance is lazy people who just don't want to work and they don't need the benefits. That's not the story for everyone. Yeah, there are millions of people who get SNAP benefits and different governmental benefits, but not all, whatever million of them are on that same list that says they need to be cut and removed. Some really need assistance. You have to consider those who are disabled. So many people have various reasons of why they're applying for these benefits, and these benefits needs to be restored or whatever is going on during this whole entire shutdown. We have to make sure that we are speaking up, that we are helping and supporting. Again, we ask the question, how can I help? How can you help? That should be the question.
So this has been a great episode. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Love Speaks.
Love Speaks is what love is. Love is culturally, love is spiritually, love is connective, and love is current. And so we're so grateful to have you here. So do us a favor, like, share, subscribe on whatever platform that you have and hit the notification button. So every time that we come on, hey, we are here. Every week we're releasing a new episode of great information, and we want you to be a part of it. We do all this with you in mind.